So the documentary on lorry drivers, 11:10 a.m. and then it closed down. Telly closed down till 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
What a time we live. What did we do?
I know. And what did they do at the BBC? BBC Two's even worse because they would put on Play School at about 10:30, and then they'd shut down until about 5:30. Yeah, but it's like, what a DOS job working at BBC Two was. Put on Play School, go to the pub, have a kip under your desk, get up and stick on whatever, some documentary about something.
If you reran CCTV from 1974, all the staff from the BBC would be out back having a fag with the clangers. That's all that happened.
Yes, exactly.
It came back on for Pebble Mill. And then there was a worldwide song and dance festival at 2 till 2:50. Imagine that.
Oh, yes.
It's all that's coming up. Foresight Saga was on. John Craven's News Round, Blue Peter Magic Roundabout. Tomorrow's World, Top of the Pops, Mastermind, and Play for Today. So quality TV. Let's talk about
golden age of television.
Well, it was. It depends. I suppose what age you were, but this was one of the big shows then. So we'll explain it in a moment. Let's just hear the theme tune to Tomorrow's World.
Oh.
It was a great concept, and they should rerun it now, to my mind, because it looked at new technology and how it might affect our lives in the future. None of us had a clue if any of it would ever come true, so there's now an industry looking back to see, did those slippers with wheels actually, when flamethrowers, did they actually work? So Al, we know Top of the Pops is your specialist subject. We've wrangled a couple of blokes who Tomorrow's World is their specialist subject because they're co-hosts of the podcast Tomorrow's World Audit Time, Russ Cope and Mark Agnew. Russ and Mark, hello.
Hey, hello. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Russ, say hello to Al. I'll say hello to Russ. And
hi, Al.
You're
right,
lads.
Speak to you again.
Yeah.
Yes, we've met before.
Oh,
they came to one of. We're all in with each other. They came to one of our live shows in London.
Right. Okay. So there's a bit of crossover between Gilbert O'Sullivan and Tomorrow's World. I'm interested to find out.
Oh yes.
Mark, hello to you.
Hi, Tony. Hi, Al.
So look.
Hey.
What?
No, I was saying hey,
hey! I thought you were going to say he still owes you money or something. No. All right, that's just a greeting. Blimey,
he owes me a drink.
Yeah, well, we could all do with that. Mark, right? I'll start with you, Mark. Explain, because I've got Gloria alongside me. Gloria, say hello.
Hello, guys.
Gen Z Gloria.
Hi, Gloria. Hi.
Can we explain to Gloria, if she'd have been alive and watching telly in 1974, what Tomorrow's World actually was?
Well, I think you did a good job of summing it up there, Tony. It was a programme every week where they would take the opportunity to share with Britain, all of whom were sat round watching. They'd share with them all the innovations that were, in theory, coming down the pipeline and how it was going to improve our lives. And so they were kind of selling this idea of like a bright future, and this is how it's going to be happening. And, back in the 70s, it was all this kind of incredible, every possibility was available to them. And, where this is slightly before our time, but in the 80s, you'd sit down and you would be incredibly excited about all the amazing, brilliant things that were going to happen to us all. That was what was marvellous.
Yeah, I mean, I mainly watched Tomorrow's World because it was on before Top of the Pops, and you were just like every so often, when's it going to be on? But Russ, I do remember particularly not CDs. What was the bigger version of a CD, an album that was a digital album? There was a name for it. Laserdisc. I do remember them showing Laserdisc for the first time. So they often got it right, didn't they, Russ?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Part of the thing that we do in our podcast is we run through and see what got through to the future, and it's remarkable how much stuff actually does we have found out has got through. Sometimes there's things that we've never even seen before, and it turns out that there's some niche tiny thing that it's actually turns out that some industry absolutely love it, sort of thing. So yeah, it's always great finding those things.
We're going to hear actually a lot of the shows got wiped, but randomly quite a lot of this show from this day exists, so we're going to hear some of it in just a second. But the presenters, I mean, they changed over the years, didn't they? But Raymond Baxter was a stalwart. What was Russ, what was their delivery method? Because they had to make it accessible, all this, didn't they? Prime time, after all.
Yeah, well, Raymond Baxter had a background in engineering and was a sort of a Spitfire pilot and a racing driver, and so he was really into his engineering type stuff. So he would always be good at that, describing those sort of things. So in the 70s, a lot of the things were engineering based, and then as the program went on, as different things became more and more special. So for example, in the 80s and 90s, they would get people that knew more about electronics and computers and things like that, and they would become presenters. So it was really sort of they would choose their presenters based on their sort of expertise at the time. And part of the great thing about Tomorrow's World is that they would always take their time to explain things from first principles. So anybody at home, even if they're not an expert in science or technology, they would be able to sort of grasp it as long as they were listening, and not just waiting for Top of the Pops to come on.
Where do we think it stood in playground currency? Because we were more likely to talk about the size of Gilbert O'Sullivan's flat cap the next day at school than someone had found an alternative to the 3-pin plug.
I think that probably depends on what sort of school child you were, really. I guess. Yeah. I mean, if you're like a big old nerd, like like me and Mark were, then that kind of stuff was interesting.
We were in a different part of the playground, I think.
Yeah, no, and that's fair enough because it takes all sorts, doesn't it? Right, let's have a listen to some of the highlights from the show then. So, are you guys across this? Because we're gonna play a few clips. This is William Woolard driving an old transit van into a very dark tunnel. Russ, what was going on here before we hear it?
Yeah, so this is what we like to call him Willy Wooly as our nickname for him. And this is an astonishing piece of footage because it looks like he's kidnapped somebody. He's in a filthy old transit van and he's driving into a tunnel, and he's going to show us a device that measures how the Earth's crust stretches when gravity from the moon affects it. But it looks like something from a crime film.
Yeah, okay, well, let's have a listen.
Now, in just the same way, the moon exerts a powerful force on the Earth's crust and creates a bulge in the rocks that make up the ocean floors and the land masses. Imagine for a moment the headlamp is the moon, and there are in fact two bulges, one directly under the moon and the other one on the other side of the Earth, created by the centrifugal effect of the Earth's rotation. And as the Earth spins about its daily axis, these two bulges appear to travel round the Earth.
Yeah. Listening to that, boys, there weren't many people in your corner of the playground, I'm imagining.
Whoa, hang on.
No offence. How do we assess that technology, and what came out of that? Is Challenger 5 using that kind of technology now? I don't know.
Well, I mean, the problem with a lot of these sort of these kind of things is that it invariably that NASA have got some sort of satellite that do it these days. That's normally the conclusion. But the one good thing about this particular thing is that he uses a laser, and that is the most exciting thing that never happened in Tomorrow's World. Is that they're using a laser to do something, which happens almost once every episode.
Yeah. This next clip actually is the legendary Raymond Baxter. This is something we can all understand because it's about, I suppose, saving the planet before that was even a thing. He's measuring fuel efficiency in a Mark III Cortina.
And on a test run, there's little point in pussyfooting around, provided, of course, you don't exceed the new speed limits. This car is fitted with a device which helps the driver to save petrol by showing him how to drive more efficiently. We haven't got it switched on at the moment because first we have to establish the fuel consumption of this car driven normally. And to do that, we are measuring very accurately the amount of petrol we use to the nearest 500th of a gallon. There's certainly plenty of scope for the driver. For instance, approaching a hill like this, one is never absolutely sure how much throttle to use nor what gear to be in. And the natural tendency is to use too much accelerator and thereby waste petrol.
Now, even I'm not a petrol head, guys, but even I know that technology is now widely in use, isn't it? In my car, it tells me my fuel efficiency.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I think I was going to say the innovation here, though, I think is the nannying light that blinks at him to tell him to accelerate less. And I think you can get a sense from listening to this clip. He is driving like a maniac, Tony. I think my great takeaway from this segment was that everyone in 1971 was driving like a psychopath. Yeah. He kindly alludes to the speed limit, which he then completely ignores. Yeah. It is about fuel efficiency. You very kindly talked about sustainability and climate change. This is about him saving money. But wherever he is, he's in a goddamn hurry. He's probably rescuing whoever Willy Wally kidnapped in the first segment, was my theory. But
somebody who's watched it has put in brackets here, he's leathering it around the country lanes like Gene Hunt.
Yes.
So that's old Raymond Baxter, yeah. Well, this next one is very much, I mean, you imagine this is 50 years ago, very much of its time. We played it earlier. It's incredible. It's an extraordinary feature about a new petrol filling station designed specifically for women. It's like something off the Two Ronnies. Introduced by Danae Brooke, very much in the style of Princess Margaret. Let's have a listen.
It's interesting, isn't it, that most successful of all selling ingredients, sex, is being left out of petrol right now. Along with tiger tails, free tumblers, regimental badges, the hot pants, high heels and miniskirts have gone too. All because of the Arab oil squeeze. Yet now, a petrol company has designed a filling station specially for women. 32% of all motorists in Britain are women, and we've obviously been buying our petrol somewhere. So it seems odd it's only now they've noticed we're different. After the electronic welcome, everything's designed for easy use. No handles to twist, no buttons to fumble for. Each nozzle dispenses one grade only. When the nozzle's removed from the holster, the price per gallon is flashed up here. The nozzle's really light. The spring in the arm here takes all the extra weight, making it much easier to handle, not only for women, but men too, I'd imagine.
Well, that's bizarre, isn't it? I suppose at the time it was very cutting edge. Boys, have you seen the film? What do you make of that?
Not everything makes it into the future.
Tony. You'll be shocked to learn that Danae used to live in the flat above Princess Diana.
You don't say. You don't say.
Yeah.
Was there a fireman's pole as well on the way down? So what was actually happening there? Was that anything to do with making women feel safe, or just presumably they needed an more easily accessible petrol station?
What makes no sense is none of the innovations in that particular piece are specific to something that would improve women specifically. Like they are just improvements to a petrol station. If you see the film, it just looks like a modern petrol station. But for some reason they're framing it in this slightly sexist manner that this petrol station would particularly appeal to women. I'm not entirely sure what's going on there, really.
No. I'm all for the spring-loaded pumps as well. I hate lugging the big heavy part. You know those when it says it fuels both sides? Blimey. You've got to be Britain's strongest man to get the pipe round there. Let's have a listen to a final clip from the show. And this is interesting. This is why I like these items when we go back in time and look at the telly, because it tells us a little bit of society at the time. It reminds us of the fuel crisis that was prevalent at the time.
The whole idea was dreamt up in Germany, where perhaps women motorists are reckoned to be less capable of filling cars than men. I'm not sure that'll go down too well with women here, though. Still, time will tell. With the price of petrol nearing £1 a gallon, we'll be lucky if any of us, men or women, will be able to afford even the drive to the station to buy the stuff in the first place.
£1 a gallon. We can only dream of £1 a gallon. I actually saw it was £1.31 in my local petrol station when I walked past today. So that's 50 years ago. Would it be £1 a gallon, or it's a litre, isn't it now? I suppose.
Well, that's a litre, yeah.
It's a litre, so it's a lot less. Yeah. So listen, how often does your podcast go out? Tell us a little bit about it then, and the respect that you have for tomorrow as well.
Well, it comes out once a month, roughly. We just recorded our Christmas episode earlier this evening, so that'll be out on Christmas Day. But generally, once a month. We look at a random episode. We try and tie it into something that's happening in the world on that particular time, or an anniversary or something like that. We sort of jump around the timeline a bit to get a bit of variety.
Yeah, well, that's what we're aiming to do with these TV times. Like someone's texting in, if you're not over 50, you've no idea what's going on here. But that doesn't preclude looking back in time, does it? Next week we might be looking at the year 2000 and telly. But I like some of the societal developments that you get in this day and age, so presumably what you guys do. How old are you two? Do you mind me asking, when were you primetime Tomorrow's World viewers, or have you gone to it later at university? How did you find it?
Well, I think actually one of the things we found, especially when we get feedback from listeners, is that everyone has their Tomorrow's World era. We're in our 40s. So for us, it was the kind of the Judith Hahn, Howard, Stapleford period. And what we've enjoyed is going around and seeing both how tomorrow's world changed as technology and engineering and all the innovation changed, but also how it's stayed the same. And actually what's really, I think, been quite interesting to us is that the reason Tomorrow's World is not on TV anymore is because computers do everything now. There's no excitement in the way there was. I mean, William Woolard is under North Yorkshire putting his leg up on a steel girder talking about lasers. You can't really do that anymore because it's a bit weird. But I mean, again, we did this podcast because we thoroughly loved the program, and Russell's right. The excitement of seeing something that did come, that made it into the future, as we like to say, is really brilliant. But to be honest, Tony, it's also the stuff that didn't. The lies we were told are a delight to dig up. No,
I get that. You've raised an interesting point there, Mark, actually, Russ, about what would be on it today. If they were to make an episode today, I'm trying to think back. I mean, major engineering developments, the Dyson. I don't know what would suddenly make Tomorrow's World today. That's the new. I wish I'd have put this out at the start.
You say
of the
that
show.
We've had a robot vacuum cleaner, I think, from an episode from 2000. I think, wasn't it?
Oh,
yeah. So was it 96? Oh God, it was even earlier than that. Yeah, you'd be surprised what we managed to dig up through these old episodes. But you're right, Tony. I think we struggled to work out how it would convey what's happening now, because it would all be like, just go on the internet. But
yeah. Well, look, listening carefully to this is Al, who presumably that's all he did while he waited for Top of the Pops to start back in the day, because he's very much in the Top of the Pop. What did you think of Tomorrow's World, Al?
At the time, I hated it. Yeah. It was the boiled cabbage of education you had to get through before you could have the Arctic roll at Top of the Pops. And I do wonder, did the BBC deliberately put Tomorrow's World on in front of Top of the Pops, thinking, oh God, we're going to be filling kids' heads up with rubbish for 40 minutes. We better give them some education first.
Yeah, they could well have done. I mean, Russ and Mark, you were of a later vintage, but did you hang around for Top of the Pops or go away to write down your thesis on what you'd seen on Tomorrow's World? Yeah,
I did, because I'm much cooler than Russ.
Yeah, I'd watch the Top of the Pops with nothing else on.
Yeah, well, we've
no other science program on BBC.
You know what? The BBC were forcing us to eat our dessert after our delicious vegetables.
Yeah, yeah. You were probably watching the cameramen operate on Top of the Pops or something like that, weren't you? Or
that I liked.
Yeah, the fake smoke. Russ and Mark, great to talk to you. What's your podcast called, and where can people get it?
It's called Tomorrow's World Audit Time, and you can get it on anywhere you get a podcast. It's available on all podcast services you can imagine.
Brilliant. Listen, guys, thanks for staying up.
Pleasure.
No
Thank you for having us.
Pleasure to talk to you.
And neither of you are in your pajamas as well, because I can see you on the camera, which is a real sterling effort. Although I can't see below the desk, so I don't know, and I don't want to ask. Anyway, cheers, guys.
All right.
There we go.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Russ Cope, Mark Agnew from Tomorrow's World Audit Time.